Hi, this is David McCann for WebTNG. This video, I'm looking at a cool new plugin called SleekPixel. What this plugin does is it allows you to create templates that you can use to automatically create featured images and automatically create open graph images for sites like Facebook and X and LinkedIn, ones that use the open graph metadata. And so what I'm going to do in this video is an overview of the plugin and a walkthrough of using it to create featured images for a custom post type and to create some open graph images for Facebook. Now, SleekPixel is created by Dennis Yosek. He is the creator, the author of the Block Studio plugin for creating custom blocks. And he has a brand now called SleekWP. And he's got 3 plugins under that brand. He's got SleekPixel, which is what we're going to look at. Sleek AI, which is a pretty cool plugin for creating chatbots and using AI on your website. And then Sleek Motion, which is for adding animation type effects to your website. Okay, so the one we're looking at though is SleekPixel. Here it just kind of reiterates what I said about creating your open graph and featured images. We're going to do it inside the WordPress admin. You have kind of a limited image editor in there, and we'll see how that works. It does have the option, as we'll see, for some dynamic content, which makes your templates a lot more flexible. And it has some options for design. You can have images and text and so on. One thing to mention before we get started, though, is this requirement is important to keep in mind. You need to have the ImageMagick extension installed on the website. If you're using shared hosting, I think a lot of them, probably most of them, have it installed. If you're using a VPS, you might have to go in and enable it. Found the option, if it wasn't already enabled, to go into the PHP extension options and enable it. But that's something to keep in mind and look at to check out before you buy. Now, as it says here, there is special launch pricing, and that pricing is 179 euros. That gives you unlimited sites, lifetime updates, discount for future products. Like, here you see there's a 29 euro discount if you've purchased one of his other products. But there's only 1 year of email support. So that's something to take into account. I have here a test site, and this site I'm using the free Blocksy theme. I've got a bunch of demo data. You see I've got a bunch of posts with some featured images, and I've got some book records, a book custom post type, and I've got some author records. Okay, we're going to be working with, in our example, the posts and the books. If we go to the dashboard, and let's just look real quick at a book record. So, we have the title and the content. These featured images are actually portrait style. What that means is that they're up and down rather than most of them. Most featured images are usually horizontal. You may have noticed that a lot of the post blocks and post widgets and things like that assume you're going to have a horizontal featured image. And so this is actually going to help us here to create one that kind of work better with regular layouts. Okay, they've got genres, and then, there's some custom fields here. And here, the book custom post type here. If we look at the plugins, I've got all-in-one WP migration for backing up and refreshing the site between testing cycles. I've got MetaBox installed, to create these custom post types. And then I've installed and activated SleekPixel. I already entered in the license key. Okay, now when you activate this, you get the admin item here. Let's do a quick tour of the user interface. The settings down here, there's where you can set your file types. PNG, JPEG, and WebP are supported, but note that I don't think that maybe Facebook and maybe some of the others support WebP yet. So that's something to keep in mind. There's API key for Google Fonts, and then the place where you enter your license. You can also set it to light or dark mode here. Now, this panel here, this is where the images, the kind of templates that you've created are going to show up in a list here. When you want to create a new image, you click up here and you'll get this option to create an image. So let's go ahead and create an image. We'll give it a name. We'll say featured image for books. Okay, and click create. Okay, so you see here's our first image in the list here. Then over here we have kind of our canvas area. And then across the top we have options. This just collapses, so you have a little more room if you need it. And then locations. This is where we add rules for where the image is going to be displayed. There are a couple of pre-designed templates here that you can use if you want to use one as a starter. This is where you go to set for preview, or if you want to delete the image, start over or whatever, you can delete it here. And then this will give you kind of a pop-up with the preview. You can choose a record for working in the canvas. So this is a big convenience here. So let's take a book record here, Camino Island. And then nothing happens here until you add a section. So there's our section. Here you can lock it, you can duplicate, you can delete it. You can set the XY, the height and width. Now you'll notice that it came in, this is actually the height and width for a Facebook open graph image. For a featured image, I'm going to set it to 600 instead of 630. And let's adjust this then. We have background options, border options, and then this design opacity option. I'd like to go with maybe some kind of really light blue. I'm a fan of blue. Let's see if we can do something and it won't look too horrible. Oh, let's do a gradient here. You have your direction top to top right to top left to right to left to bottom. You can adjust the direction for your gradient. Let's maybe do something like that. So that's what I've got there. Now here you can change the name and size. There's a margin automatically. These are some settings for when you're using on the canvas. Guidelines, snap to guidelines, show margin, step increments. Remember opened accordions, show element preview. This is where you would add our next element. We've got undo, redo. Okay, so let's go ahead and add our next element. This will be an image. This is just a placeholder here. So I'm going to set this image so we can lock, duplicate, and delete this item. Okay, we can do the source. We can paste in a URL here. What I want to do though is the featured image. And so I'm going to click on source here. And these are currently the dynamic data, the tag, template tag options or whatever. We have post ID, title, content type, link, date, modified date, time, comment count, excerpt, and featured image. Okay, so I'm selecting that. Then you have author, bio, email, website, archive URL, or avatar. So that's the author information. Site title, tagline, URL, icon. Ooh, so that's new. So it looks like you can bring in the site logo there, so that's cool. Then for archive, you have title description, you have query results, count, search term, object, title, and ID. So there are options. So I've already selected featured image, see that checked there. Now, if you click here, and we've got our preview selected, we should get a featured image. Awesome. Okay, so that's working. There's a pop-up here with instructions on how the dynamic data works. But anyway, we've got our first item on here, our featured image. All right, now I want to add in the title. Okay, and so let's move this down. Let's set, can change the font family or whatever. We can change the color. Let's bump up the font size. Let's say maybe 60 pixels. Okay, and then we have line height and letter spacing, text align, text transform, font weight. Let's make that kind of bolder, and font style. Okay, and then vertical alignment. Set the background for your text. Set border. Okay, and opacity again. All right, now we want this to be dynamic data also. So let's go post title and check. Awesome. And let's see. If you have static text, you can type it in right here. So I want to do reviewed by in a space, and now we can use kind of the magic tag type syntax, you know, with the curly brace. Let's see, I think this would be author dot name. Is that going to show for us? Yeah, that pulled that in, so that's great. Okay, and I think here maybe I'd bump this down a little bit. All right, so next we want to add some information about the site. So let's go add text, and let's make this smaller still. Let's say 28 pixels, and we'll have this align right. Okay, and we'll bring in some site information. So let's say site title and display that. Okay, and then let's bring in another one. And let's change that to be smaller also, and have that be right aligned. And here we'll bring in the tagline now from the site and display that. All right. So you kind of see what we're doing here. I'm not a great artist. I can usually get something good, but it takes a long time. So you'll need to use a little imagination here. You know, for example, for the background, you could put an image here and then layer these items on top of it. You know, like, so you could have like a gradient image, or you could have a background. Sometimes you see images where there's, you know, like a divider here and they're different colors, and then you have some text on this side and some on that. So really, there's a lot that you can do here, but I'm gonna just kind of go with this for right now. Let's save our design. And now let's go to locations. Before we assign this, let's go and remind ourselves what the book featured images look like. This is what the Bloxy theme here is showing by default. And if we go to a single, this is what we've got. We want to kind of fix that. So now let's add a location, and we want this one to be featured image. Okay, and let's add where post type is equal to audiobooks. Okay, and let's save locations. Now let's go to the front end and let's go to books and see what we see. Awesome. It created our featured image here. So that's cool. Let's go look at an individual book record here. Here's the featured image for the individual record. Yeah, definitely on some websites you're going to want to have a very custom featured image for each article. But there are also a lot of websites where you can use a template like this and really speed up the whole process. I think this is awesome. For me, one of the time consuming items is creating the open graph images. So right now, if we looked at the page source and we did a search for open graph, we're not going to find in the header any open graph images. So we don't have an SEO plugin or anything like that. Let's go back now to the dashboard to SleekPixel. And here's our list. There's featured image for books. Let's create now a new one. And let's call this Facebook image for posts. Okay, so we'll create that. I am selected here in our list. So let's add a section and let's extend that across. Like we can check here. That is the width and height for Facebook Open Graph image. So you can adjust that if you need to. And you can see you can set the background. Now I'm going to add to that an image. And let's see. If we want it to be absolutely perfect right on with the sizing, you could put the height and width in here. I'm just going to eyeball it here and have it preview with this one. Okay, and then for the image, we'll go to the featured image and have that show. Okay, so I'm just going to eyeball this here. Then we'll add a text item and we'll put that kind of underneath here. Okay, and let's have that text be center aligned, and we'll bump the font size down some, and let's type in another gray article on, and let's put in the site dot title, and there we go. Okay, so this will be, I guess, our open graph image. Use your imagination here if you want it to be fancier. I'm going to save the design. Now let's go to locations and let's add some rules. We do want it to be open graph. We have the options, post type, post status, page, template, taxonomy, term, a bunch of conditions here. So you might want to add a singular for this so the OGG image, isn't created for the archive. Okay, but a bunch of options here. Has featured image, that's cool. So you could set a rule so the featured image is only created when there isn't one, like if somebody forgets. Okay, but we want where post type is equal to posts, and then where is singular is equal true. Okay, let's save that. Let's go now and look at, a post and check out the source and see if there is an open graph. Okay, here it is. OGG image, open graph image, and here's the URL. And so let's go take a look at that. And there's our open graph image. Okay, so this is working. Now that we've done a walkthrough looking at the features, let's do a little bit of discussion. Over the years, I've seen several plugins that tried to deliver automatic featured images. Those plugins were clunky and they did not work well. SleekPixel, on the other hand, does seem to work pretty well. The interface is easy to navigate and has a fair number of features. Not every website will want to create featured images with SleekPixel, but for open graph images and social images, I think it'll be a real boon. Note, for example, that while there are conditions for display for different taxonomies and taxonomy terms, there is not the ability to output the taxonomy term using one of the dynamic tags. Also, it would be nice to have an icon library in the editor to pull from, give you a little more flexibility and options when you're creating the templates. Note also that when SleekPixel creates images, they're not being saved to the media library. For open graph images, that could be a big boon because creating a couple of images for every single post just for Facebook and X, your media library size grows fairly quickly. For featured images, though, I could see some people wanting to have the featured image saved to the media library. Now, SleekPixel is under active development. I know, for example, that the taxonomy terms, the ability to include those on the templates, that's coming. I believe the developer has a number of things on the list of feedback that he's gotten from early users. So if people need something like the featured image saved to the media library, then it would be good to go ahead and make a case for that. But the developer, Dennis Josak, is obviously very creative and seems to be a good programmer as well as a good designer. So I'm definitely planning to use SleekPixel on several of my sites. I think it's a keeper. I'm pretty excited about it. So if it looks like something that maybe you could use, I encourage you to take a look at it. So that's the walkthrough and discussion of SleekPixel. Hope you found the video useful and interesting. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot. Thank you for watching.